And welcome to episode 3 of the Media Goon Show. We're lucky enough tonight to be joined with us by New York Channel One's Roger Clark. Roger's a great Mets fan. He's a great news reporter. I have a great time every time I get to spend some time with him on location. He's also one of the reasons why I've become more comfortable in front of a mic and in front of a camera is because he's had me on so many times. Let me bring my cohort in first, Dave Maggio. Hey, Dave.
Hello, how are you?
I'm warning everybody now, Dave is screwing up with his mic, so if you hear any buzzing, it's all his fault.
I hear nothing.
And, yeah, it's typical Maggio madness. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Roger in. So I haven't seen Roger since last July in person. So here's Roger Clark.
Hey,
Hey, Roger.
Great to see you. Yeah, that's right. We were at Citi Field talking about baseball coming back last year, and now it's coming back again, but a little bit bigger and better than it was last year for sure.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like it's been a year, with everything going on with the pandemic, but it doesn't feel like a year. But at the same time, it feels like a year, and it's just crazy. And I just can't wait to actually watch baseball, whether if we get tickets into the games or not. I'm just happy to be able to say we got past 1 year already.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the top 10 things I missed from last. I mean, we had actually, and this is going to sound crazy as a Mets fan since I'm a little kid growing up in Queens, but I had never been to Mets spring training. Last year, for the first time, we were going to Port St. Lucie. I have my son Jack, who I'm sure you've seen on Facebook and stuff. He's a huge baseball freak. We had the tickets to a game. We were going. My mom moved to Delray Beach. We were close. It was going to be, like kill two birds with one stone. See mom, go to a Mets spring training, and bang. And that was it. And it was just, and that was only the beginning, obviously, at that point. But boy, then everything just came. But so that was one of the things. I was like, darn, I was so close to finally going to Mets spring training. So hopefully by maybe next year,
Spring training is a lot of fun. Dave actually goes down a lot. When he's down there, he's my running around buddy. We've done some cool stuff down there. We've met some players like before the game. He's brought players artwork that he's done. Last year, he wasn't able to go down. I had to do a special run down to Tom's River, where he's from, to go get a TIFO, because he's the TIFO guy for the 7 line. And we were bringing it down to spring training. So I'm in possession of the only TIFO that was made from 2020 for the Mets.
We got to put it on eBay and just title it Rare. Rare. One and only.
Yeah. But I hope that you're able to go next year. So it's a lot of fun.
This is embarrassing to admit, but I have been to spring training, but my grandparents were from the Bronx, and my grandmother took me one day to Yankee spring training when they used to do it in Fort Lauderdale. We took like 2 buses there, and I actually caught a foul ball during the game. And this is, kind of a mushy story, but when my grandmother died, I actually put the ball in her coffin because it was like a moment. Now, all right, that being said, I would have rather been at Mets spring training, but she lived near Fort Lauderdale, and the Mets were up in Tampa at that time, so it was different. If they were in Port St. Lucie, we might have been able to go there.
Yeah, you know what? But at least you got to go to a spring training, which is a totally different vibe than going to a regular like in-season game. So even if it was the Yankees, you're still having fun. So we're not going to fault you for that.
Yeah, you know what I remember the most about that trip, though? You guys are going to think this is crazy, little pop culture thing, was on the way we were going, I think it was through like Pompano Beach on like it was like a public bus. And there was an Esther Roll Boulevard, as in the woman who played the mother on Good Times.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying to my grandmother, "Oh my God, it's named after Esther Roll." And she's like, "Who's Esther Roll?" And I was like, "Forget it." But
James.
But it was just random like that. It was a street named after Esther Roll. Like maybe she was from there, I guess. I don't know.
But that's great that's something that you were able to pick up, because that's something I would pick up too. And be like, "Oh wow, it's the mother from Good Times. I can't believe it."
Right. Like, how was Yankee spring training? It kind of sucked. But I got to see Esther Roll Boulevard,
So that just made your spring training right down there. Even if you wouldn't have been able to see that at Port St. Lucie, so you're good.
There may be a random street named after some random TV star at that place too, but who knows?
Yeah, it's Allen Hale Jr. Boulevard.
Is that it? Oh man, the skipper, I miss him.
Yeah, that's such a beloved show, but I know the kids don't watch all the reruns that we watched when we were kids. So like all these pop culture references, at least you get it. Majo gets it. I can't talk to kids like my cousins' kids. Everything I say goes right over their head now.
It's kind of a bummer though, right? I mean, like all these because we watch those shows over and over and over. We have so many references like Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island, Bewitched, Addams Family, Munsters, and my kid he's just no clue. We can talk Paw Patrol. That's about it.
The only thing about Paw Patrol I know is I think I might have a jersey from the Brooklyn Cyclones that I got. That's the only thing I know about Paw Patrol. But I'm also not a parent, so.
Did they have a Paw Patrol night?
Yeah,
they. Oh, I didn't realize that.
One day I think for a story for you, you might have to go down to the rabbit hole of my jerseys of the whole collection I have.
Oh, I'd love to.
I have retail turn ahead the clock jerseys. So I got like 2 Mercury Mets and I got most of the teams. I'm missing like probably about 5 teams, but I have a Boston Red Sox that they never wore signed by Brett Saberhagen.
Oh gosh. What was he, Mr. What was it? The bleach detergent? What did he do? He did something in the club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, those were dark times. I thought like those were dark, and in the past couple of years before last year was pretty dark. And
could you imagine social media back then? Oh, everybody would be canceled.
Yeah, that was. I hate to say it, but those teams that was a lot of really kind of a bunch of knuckleheads back then. That wasn't.
Yeah, that made it hard. Like if I was a kid, or a teenager, or running around there, but it's like. I remember I'm like, I really don't want to root for these guys.
Yeah, that's when it gets bad, though. You hate that, though, when it kind of has also happened to me a bunch with the Knicks, too, like where maybe it's the ownership, but where you just dislike the team and certain players and you don't really, it's obviously we're always going to root for the colors. We're always going to root for the jerseys, right? But there are times, especially, thank God this ownership changed because I feel so much better now. Rooting for the team, but it was rough, rooting for when there's not likable players and not likable ownership at the same time. Now, for sure, I have to say the past couple, like 2019, I went to more Mets games than I had been to in years. One, because obviously my son loves baseball, but the other part of it is I like them. I like Alonso. I like DeGrom. You want to go see these guys. I like Conforto. So it's neat to have finally a good bunch of core guys that you could say, I like these guys. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, homegrown core guys that like you watch grow up in front of you coming from the minors and coming up and you're like, oh, this is great. This is a team. We didn't try to go out and go on the bargain bin to go pick up guys. We actually drafted well and did little trades and pickups here and there. And we have a team that it's like, hey, you know what? I can get behind these guys. You can tell that they want to win. They want to play well. They actually like being in New York. There have been some guys that have been on this team. You could tell they couldn't wait to get out of the city.
Yeah. I mean, and look, we know it's not for everybody. I mean, I think it goes way back to when I was like really little and like the Mets got George Foster and he like had been ripping it up for the Reds. And then he comes here and he stinks. And that was like a good example for me. That was one of the first real big times where I was like, wow, man, not everybody is good. And then, of course, when the 86 team came around and you got guys like Hernandez and Carter who come here and just like excel and embrace the atmosphere and what the Mets fans have to offer, that's when you love it. And then, of course, Piazza did the same thing. And now you hope Lindor does it, right?
Yeah, I mean, because Lindor was over in Cleveland, I didn't really pay too much attention to him. I knew his name. I knew his stats, like that I'm a stat head, but it's kind of hard to miss what he did, over there offensively and defensively. But the personality that he has, I'm loving what he is, when he's over here. And like, he looks like he's enjoying the game. He enjoys being with the people. Imagine if like we actually had full crowds, what kind of player he'd be with the fans everywhere.
Yeah, it's almost a shame. And I don't know if Dave, if you agree, like, if we had, like, it's too bad that the year we got him wasn't the year when there's not a pandemic still, right? I mean, but that being said, I mean, hopefully, as the summer goes by, I mean, obviously it's not going to go away right away, but I think, yeah, but it would have been great to have that place 45,000 opening day, introducing Lindor, and the whole place just goes, ape crazy there.
Yeah, speaking about opening day, we got the press release yesterday about that the stadium can have 8,000 fans in it as of now for opening day, and possibility that there could be more. A lot of people were asking like how the tickets were going to be doled out, and it actually is pretty fair that anybody that had a long time ticket plan, they're getting choice first. But the only thing I didn't like was that they just kept pushing and selling tickets, and they never had a plan of how many people were going to be able to get into the stadium. So now you have nothing but credits all over the place.
Yeah, I think you remember seeing like those ads during the games last year, and I hate to say it, I used to kind of laugh when it happened because they were like, get your season tickets now for 2021, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, do we even know there is good? We didn't know where things were heading,
No.
and yeah, so it is kind of in a way, and look, we all get those calls from the Mets ticket reps, and you're like, yeah, okay. I mean, look, I want to go to bowl games too, but I certainly wasn't going to jump on and buy and go too crazy about buying tickets, which it's just too unpredictable, I mean, yeah, I would like to be there those early days, but I don't know. Yeah, Keith, good point. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it.
I gave up my half season plan. Last season would have been the first season without it, and I kept my 7-line ticket plan because I just had issues with the security guards at Citi Field and just their customer service, and it just drove me crazy. So I'm like, why am I going to keep giving money to this team if they're going to treat a ticket holder that's had a plan for 10 years like this? And I'm just going to keep my 7-line tickets. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, thank God I got rid of my tickets.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have to deal with the refund, the rollover with the credits. And even with what we're dealing with for opening day, it's like, hey, we know we already gave you your tickets, but we're going to pull them back. And you might be able to get tickets. If not, you're going to have to roll over the credit to, when you can actually use it. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that, in their minds, they have to keep making money and they have to keep the fan base intact to a certain extent. So, but that being said, it's like, come on, I don't know. It's strange. I think they should be going, piecemeal at the same time as the rest of society is, right? Not jumping too far ahead, but I mean, I guess look, face it, it's a corporation, right? I mean, we know it, whether it is old owners or new owners, it's still always going to be very corporate. Even the people who work for the team, when you deal with them for the most part, it's always like that, Now inside, Keith, I don't know, it's a little different. Like I've always been an advocate of if there's half a crowd there, you let the people in the upper deck come down and sit in the good seats. I don't understand why you watch the games, you see those good seats behind home plate, and no one's there. Let them go find a kid and bring him down. That's
Did you ever hear
doing?
Did you ever hear their reasoning for it?
No, I was just gonna say why? Why don't they ever?
So their reasoning for it is that the people that have those seats paid good money for those seats, and if they were to let people come down, even in say the 7th inning, you never know when the people that have those seats are going to come in. So they don't want them. This is what they've been telling us for years. Me and my cousin from Mets Police, we've been fighting with them for years about it. We've been, all the different stuff we've gone toe to toe with the Mets about with customer relations. It's just amazing. It's just like, all right, fine. If you don't want to put them behind home plate, there's tons of seats, behind the first baseline, behind the dugouts that aren't being used, especially 7th inning at on a cold night in April. Just let people go down. But it's crazy. And then they don't stop. The other thing is that drives me crazy with the ushers is that they don't stop people for going down to their seats during at bats anymore.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, because all of a sudden, Mr. Johnson with 8 things of popcorn, and he's like, "Excuse me, Barbie, excuse me," and you're missing a great at bat. Yeah, I'm with you on that one too.
And they're like, this was the other thing they told me was because the ushers they're people start yelling at them like, well, you put signs up and go, you're not permitted during at bats. That's it. It takes it out of the usher's hands for having to admonish people, and people love to see written signs.
I think
Once they see,
and we went to Pittsburgh for a couple of
Mhm.
games 2 summers ago, and they were holding it, like,
yep.
it was perfect. And you get
Yeah.
the message very quickly. You can see it from 15 feet away. You're like, all right, okay, I'm not, that's actually a great idea,
Now, do you want to hear their counter with this one? Well, with the union contract with the ushers, they don't have to hold up any signs, and it's against their contract. Now, I'm a union guy, and I understand that, but all right, fine. They don't want to hold it up. Place it right on top of right where the numbers are on the railing.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, it just makes it, like you said, and I think that's the problem a lot of times is that the team doesn't talk to us about the fan experience. They do these, I don't know, they must do some kind of they go with computer stuff, and they go through do surveys and things like that. But when it comes down to it, what they should do is call guys like you and Dave and say, all right, what do you like and what do you not like? And go from there,
Well, I am on the Mets fan advisory board, believe it or not.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm on that thing, and it's crazy that it's more for it's more of a focus group than really an advisory board. But
that's the words I was looking for before when I had a brain fart.
Yeah, but there's enough people in the Mets organization that reach out to me at times when they read my blog at themediagoon.com for anybody that doesn't know.
Of course.
So, Dave, that's how you promote. I keep trying to tell you.
Got it. I'll get there.
Website
that's up and running. I'll work.
So, they do reach out to me and tell me why their reasons are for doing stuff, but they also don't reach out and go, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think about it? And if you reach out to people like me, Darren, my cousin, then there's about 5 or 6 other fans that go to a ton of games that know how it is. It would make life so much easier for the Mets organization.
Yeah, I think the last game I went of 2019, I had a problem with they didn't staff enough security that night at the gates, and we went through. I don't know, for the whole season, I was having a great luck going through the bullpen gate. And that night, it was really bad. And I screwed up. I confess that I got there, a little too close to game time, and I should know better. But we missed, I think, 3 innings, and it was pretty rough. I was like, wow. I just felt like there had to be a better way,
There's no reason to lose 3 innings closer to game time, because by that time, majority of the people should be in. So if you're going to close down gates, at least put up signs. Hey, everybody go to this gate. And then you staff it appropriately. Don't spread it out where you have 2 security guards at each gate instead of just opening 3 of the gates and staffing it the right amount of people.
Yeah, I think that's right. And now, of course, I tweeted out way to go, Mets! I'm missing the game, and people are like, "Well, you should have showed up early." Which is I get
who knows? You might have been out doing your job, doing a story. So you got to show up. You show up when you can show up.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. I mean, Jack's really into now getting there early and trying to get foul balls. So we've been ridiculously, almost to the point where we're too early for some games. I'm like, wow, there's no lines at defenders. This is great. But that night, it just happened to be, we just running a little late, blah, blah, blah. And then you're screwed, so that you don't like that to happen,
Yeah. Joseph Green even says getting fans in quickly is an issue. That does happen, especially on giveaway days. They're a mess.
Oh my God. And they're waiting, that it's weird. It's funny. There's phases, it's a long line to get in, an hour and a half before the game for the, to get the, whatever they're giving away. Then it's good. And then when you get closer to game time, that gets bad again. So really it's almost like you have to be all right, I don't want what they're giving away. I'm going to wait for that group to go in, and then I'm going to go in quick, and then you're good,
Yeah, I think one of the ways they can actually fix that is anybody that's a season ticket holder that has a plan should just get the giveaways, either mail to them or go to the there's I don't know if they still have it, but there's a season ticket holder lounge over by the kids City Field, and they should just hold the giveaways in there. Hey, we packaged up these giveaways for this week. Here's all your giveaways. We packaged up for you this week. Here's all your giveaways. Don't but give them a section that they come in where they don't get the giveaways that day until they come in and pick it up from the season ticket holder lounge.
It's actually a good idea, pending there's no line inside, but there probably won't be. And and then you're eliminating a whole bunch of people who are, waiting to get in just to get whatever they're giving away. It's right. It's crazy. I mean, that being said, I still can't wait to go, but.
Same here. I know I'm going to end up missing opening day because of work, but my wife is just like, she's like, I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go. She goes, are we getting tickets? What's going on? I'm like, read my blog. I've gotten to that point with her. I'm like, just read the blog. It'll tell you everything.
We drove by, this was crazy, man. He had baseball practice in Mount Vernon of all places. And we're in the Upper East Side. And they sent us through Queens to get to, because there was a jam up on 95. So we passed by Citi Field, and he actually, and not to get mushy, but he was like, "Oh, Citi Field, Dad, when are we gonna go?" And then I actually got like kind of a tear in my eye hearing my son say that we went a whole, like literally, that's the first summer I didn't see a baseball game since I was 7 years old, And to hear my son say that, I'm driving, and I'm like, "All right, stop right now." But yeah, it's like it really is, for. When it's part of your life, it's crazy. It really, it's something. And then all the complaining we've been doing, and we've complained about the team a crap load over the years. You still want to be there. It's great.
Well, that's the thing. Like a majority of my adult friends that I've become friends with over the years, I've met through the Mets. Most of my wedding party were people I met through the 7 line. It's crazy. Like Dave, I met through the 7 line. And we've become really good friends. And it's just like that whole baseball community. I miss seeing everybody. I'm like, we still, keep in touch and everything, but it's not the same.
Yeah, no, it's, and it's weird. I talk about the Mets with my Mets buddies too, but yeah, I mean, the idea, actually, this guy I went to high school with, the other day, he said we should catch a Mets game. And we realized that we had never gone to a Mets game together, just like randomly missed each other. So we're planning on going. So that's going to be that's one of the big events I'm looking forward to if we ever get there. But yeah, you're right. It's such it's crazy how much we love the team, and we love the experience of being part of it, and love being part of this family that is, that are Mets fans. So it's, and that was a big part of what we missed. You missed the baseball, of course, you missed the players, you missed the ballpark, but you also missed the people,
Yeah, and that's like one of the reasons why we did the QBC all these years, is because in the wintertime there wasn't anything for anybody to do that were, a part of our Mets family, and I'll call it our extended family that are now people that come to the QBC, and I missed that this year. I miss seeing you at the QBC. I miss seeing Majo at the QBC. Like, just to see everybody having so much fun, hanging out, and just talking about baseball. And during the off season, it's just like, I'm not gonna lie, this year has been rough. Just not being able to just hang out with people. And on the positive side, at least I still know that everybody that I'm friends with are still around, and I haven't talked to you really since July,
Yeah. I mean, I always feel like I see you. Thank God, social media has its good points and bad points. And the good point is keeping us connected in some ways. The other things like politics and stuff like that, that's another issue. But when you're able to, I think it was even more important this year than ever. You were either disgusted at what you saw on social media because it got too political and crazy, and it was a very polarized, divisive nation the past year, or you were, thank God, oh, this guy's okay, because you just because look, it was no joke. Every other day, you just didn't know what was going to happen. So and not to get serious, but it really was, it was that kind of situation.
Yeah, and I was looking. I looked at the when I texted you the other day to jump on, which I'm very happy that you jumped on with us.
Oh, thank you.
It's just weird having like this other side where I'm the one hosting and asking the questions versus how you usually have me on.
It always feels natural though, because I feel like we've talked so many times on TV, so it's like,
Yeah, so I looked at the text. I'm like, wow, I haven't texted Roger since July. Like that's just crazy.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say it definitely was a long year, but also like we've been working a lot, so which I'm obviously thankful and grateful that I've been able to work, but because of the setup, being working well. Like I'm always out in the field every day, but then we come home to do what we do, and when you get, the work gets bigger when your hours get longer and there's no boundaries. So it seems like it's just been nonstop, So like I said, I'm thankful that I was stayed employed, but it's been a lot of work, and it doesn't give you much time to do anything else. I was thinking to myself, if I had like the things that I had pre-pandemic, like I play softball and I play in a little band, and I never would have been able to make it to any like practices or anything because of work. Which is like, you don't know now. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, would I have been working this much if it wasn't for the pandemic? And then I still would have been. It's like, who knows? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, since you brought up your band, it's a perfect segue, because I've been looking for a way to lead into it. I've never been able to catch a concert when you guys are doing a show. I've never been able to catch a show. I'm always working, 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And then, like, one of the few times, like, you've had a Saturday show, I couldn't make it because I was either recovering from working all those hours, or I had to go do something. But how long have you been playing the drums?
Well, it's weird. I started. I was in the 7th grade band at Russell Sage Junior High in Forest Hills. I was played in the band with Mr. Pab. First, I played saxophone. I was terrible, so I switched to drums. And then at the end of 7th grade, I went to Mr. Pab and I said, "Mr. Pab, I want to be an 8th grade band." And he said, "Roger, you have no rhythm. Forget it." I went up in like printing shop. So I was making rubber stamps, and I was really bitter about it. But I kept the drumsticks. And like fast forward like 5 years in high school, the bunch of guys, we were in the lunchroom, and the guys were like, "Yeah, we're gonna start a band." And I said, "Oh, I have drumsticks." They're like, "You're the drummer." And that was it. So like, yeah, and then I self-taught, and I just learned over the years. So it's been fun, but I hope Mr. Pab knows that I think I have a little more rhythm than I did in 7th grade. Just a little more. Yes.
Yeah. I actually, I was going through, I looked up your band, which is Perp Walk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was actually, looking it up the other day, and I pulled up a couple pictures
from Hanks. Hanks is no longer with us, sadly.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to listen to something cool, it's pretty good. The music, Perp Walk.
Yeah, it's fun if you're into like rock, punky rock. It's pretty fun stuff, quirky. Bunny, our bass player, writes a lot of lyrics, and they're kind of like she's travels a lot, so she writes about like she was like in some like a campsite on the beach in Colombia, and like she woke up in the middle of the night and rats had raided the place. So, and they were like eating everybody's like knapsacks and M&Ms and snacks and stuff. So she wrote this song called Rats, and that's one of our songs. So almost every song is like some crazy experience she had traveling the world. So it's kind of cool.
So it was like Lower East Side in the 80s.
Right, exactly. We would have fit in perfectly, trust me. No, but it's weird. But my guitar player is a great story. His name is Joe O'Carroll. He's a retired detective with the NYPD Harbor Unit, and he was the musical director for the Emerald Society pipes and drums for like years. So, and he traveled the world. So it's funny when we play these little tiny clubs and I say I'm nervous, he's like, "Why?" I played Carnegie Hall, like literally. He played like in some of the biggest, because especially after 9/11, they were invited everywhere. So he plays bagpipes, but he also plays great guitar.
Wow, plays 2 instruments. I can't even play one.
I know. I can't figure out. One of these days, I've never actually attempted bagpipes, but it looks really hard and it looks heavy. I don't know, but I love that sound. It's great.
Yeah, I don't think I have the lung capacity for it.
Like I feel like I pass out. Like
yeah, when Keith told me you were going to be on, I was like, I'm going to look up a little bit and see what what you're into or that stuff. I saw the band thing. I'm like, oh, he's a drummer. That's great. And then the story you just told is like literally exactly my way of playing the drums as well. Like I was in school band in like 4th and 5th grade, where they call it the quote unquote orchestra. And you sit there and you have to, the hardest thing you do is play a paradiddle, where it's just like
right, yeah.
And then I was just always wanted to play the drums, always liked the rhythm of it, but it was just like, well, drum sets are loud and expensive, so we'll play guitar. So I learned guitar for probably, I guess I started picking up when I was like 12, 13, I guess, and played through high school. I didn't get my first drum set until I think I was 23 or something, and just finally started playing with it. It's just like, well, then if I'm not in a band. There's nowhere to really set up a drum set. And then
It's tough.
And there's really nowhere to set up a drum set.
Yeah, no, I'm always jealous of the people in the suburbs who have like a big like garage or like a basement area. You're like, yeah, my whole music room is down there, and I'm like, really? You have a music room? I was like, it's like, not in my apartment.
Not here either.
I know. Well, that's one thing about this whole, I'm doing my work in the bedroom, and my wife is getting frustrated because like whenever she needs something, I'm always about to go like 3, 2, 1. Oh, what? The door flies open.
Well, that's like I try to do this show either Friday or Saturday. It's whatever night Trish is working late, so that way I don't have to worry about her coming in and relegating her to the bedroom.
Right.
So
Yeah. It's weird. Your boss has thought about stuff like that. Like, like I feel like I want to say to my boss, I was like, could you like get us? Is there any chance you could get us also the apartment next door as my workplace? Because it's crazy.
Hey, I just need you to expand my closet just a little bit and soundproof it. That's the only thing I need.
Right. Then I'm good. It's like, yeah, it's crazy though. But then, no, I really am jealous. I have buddies who like, everybody makes their pick in life, right? Some of us stay in more of a city. And like some of them, I've gone to their homes, like out in Jersey and stuff, or Long Island. They have like they actually have an office, like an official office that they walk in, like, and they'll be like, okay, wife, kids, you may not, don't bother me. I'm working. Close the door. Bang. That's it. And I'm like, that's crazy. I can't even like fathom that. It's impossible.
And then you got somebody like my cousin who has he lives in a sitcom. He has 3 kids, his wife. And he goes down to record stuff in the basement. And he has his own office, like off the basement that's, got soundproofing, got a door, it's closed, everything. But the only thing is, that's where the washing machine is.
Oh, no.
So the wife comes down right when he's in a flow. You know how it is. Like you're going for 20 minutes and you're like in a nice like pace going. And then you hear the washing machine go off. Or his wife comes down, or the kids come down and like, hey, we can't work the printer, even though we're all teenagers and we don't know how to load the paper. Can you come up and load the paper? And he's just like, I'm working. They're like, yeah, but we don't know how to work the printer. You're all almost in college. Learn how to work the printer.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's the craziest. I mean, I feel bad, but my wife though, because she's become like the IT person for me and my son, because I knew how to use a computer and stuff, but I have they gave me an iPad to bring home to do editing on, and then I have this like Microsoft Surface for the other stuff, and this one's not working, and then this one goes down, and you're like, it's just it's absolutely bonkers. I never would have predicted this one, that a pandemic would bring this on us,
Yeah, what about with the and when your internet service provider just like fails, and it's just like, what am I going to do now? My hotspot, I only have so many megs on my hotspot. I can't really, do anything too crazy with it.
Yeah, really, it's crazy because it really is. You're helpless, right? I mean, you're basically helping, and you can't even like say, oh well, I'll go down to Starbucks. They have Wi-Fi because
can't go.
You can't go to Starbucks. Not that I would want to go to Starbucks anyway, but
Well, they don't even have the Wi-Fi on, some spots where you can't even sit outside with the Starbucks like you used to be able to.
Yeah. Well, they don't want any people gathering or anything like that, which is strange. It's some places you feel like there's more gathering than others, and some are try harder to keep it out. And like this bench, they have a sticker on the bench, don't sit here,
Well, it's like every time I pass Trader Joe's over in Glendale, there's always a line outside, and there's always 6 feet in between everybody, but it's every day from opening to closing. There's always a line, and I'm sure there's only like 5 people in the store at a time.
Do you guys understand that? I mean, like, I know like apparently Trader Joe's has there's certain like people are like, oh, they have the best this, they have the best that, but like I don't get the waiting. I mean, I just get a key food. There's no line. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. The Whole Foods and Trader Joe's thing, I don't get it. I don't.
They just opened it. I'm in Jersey, so I'm like central southern Jersey, and they opened the Trader Joe's relatively close to us. About, God, I don't know. It was a little before the pandemic started, and I remember everybody was losing their mind. Like Trader Joe's, you have to go, and there's a Whole Foods that's 45 minutes. Like, you gotta go, I'm like, I feel like I go to these places, you drop $100 and I come out with a bag and a half of food. Like, yeah, there's a place called like Aldi and ShopRite. They're just as good. It's like everything is okay. Just don't get the rotten fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys have ever been to like a supermarket in Manhattan. They're a little smaller, obviously, because there's less space. The aisles are squishy. Like I do, because I spent 10 years up in the Hudson Valley and Central New York for trying to get back home. So we had Stop and Shop and Wegmans and all giant aisles and everything. So I have to confess, I did. There was a time when I missed that, but the Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, even the Fairway. I mean, I know they have great stuff. Don't get me wrong. No offense, but I just don't see myself waiting online to get it.
No.
Well, I used to when I did TV commercials, I used to walk all the way around Union Square, and like that, it keeps changing its name. But at one point, it was like a Grand Union. Then it might be a Stop and Shop now. But whatever store is down there, I couldn't even walk through the aisles like normally. I had to walk sideways like Razor Ramon, going like this, so that way I didn't knock stuff over.
Yeah, it brings up, you always like, there's always that joke. You remember like Mr. Mom when like or was it Married to the Mob where they're all crashing the carts together? But you gotta, it's gonna happen. You get dirty looks and everything. But in the Manhattan ones, the small ones, forget about it. It's like even worse. I was gonna say though, there is like, I always say I would never wait online for something. There's only probably one place I wait online is Utopia Bagels, like over in Queens. There's a lot of those bagels are damn good. I'm sorry.
Right by St. John's.
Yeah, I mean they're just. I mean, so it'll go like a little out the door, and that's one thing I have to confess. I will wait for those bagels. They're good.
Yeah, I used to go down there when I was in St. John's.
Yeah, I mean, just good stuff. I mean, it's like, because there's less. I feel like there's fewer really good bagel places than there used to be.
There's a couple that popped up in Astoria now, like Brooklyn Bagel Company, and there's another one.
Big Mets fan too.
Yeah, my parents ran into him up in the Catskills, and they just started talking to him out of nowhere, and they had no idea who he was. And he's like, "Yeah, I opened up over in Astoria. You should come by." I'm like, "What the? How does this happen?"
Yeah, they make good bagels, and they're funny. On their social media guy is a great guy, and whenever I say another bagel store is good, he just writes to me in caps, Roger. And I'm like, I'm sorry. No, they're really good. They have great bagels there. But I also, down the road, Astoria bagels I like too.
Yeah. There's a couple of good ones in Astoria. I mean, it takes me maybe 10, 15 minutes to drive over to one, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Over by you, though, is there any bagel stores left?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, like there was Alpha Donut over on Queens Boulevard that would have bagels every. But there's nothing. I mean, there's not even a good deli in my neighborhood anymore.
Yeah, just to get a nice big hero sandwich, like Salad, Chris, and Charlie's in the store, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I hit a lot too. That was during 2015, the World Series and the playoffs. I would come in with 10 sandwiches for the tailgate and just put them out for everybody. Cut them up into sections.
Those things are ridiculous. I mean, like I feel like you eat, if you actually eat the full sandwich, like you pass out. Like it's like almost like a sleeping pill.
I've done it. I've done it a few times.
Dude, like you have that much salami, like there's no way you're like staying awake. Until you get any. It's good going down. Yeah. Delicious,
Yeah. Oh well, I think we got our first troll. We Goonin, okay. Mets are cheaters. I don't know how they said that. And ban Carlos Beltran. Okay, he's not with the Mets, so I just felt like talking to the trolls, they don't really bother me.
Ban Carlos Beltran. Some people are actually think that he should somehow be back as part of the organization, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, do I think he should be totally out of baseball? No. Do I think he has to earn his way back in? Yeah, I think he should have to go ride a bus and single A ball for a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. No, that sounds like a good. Like to have to work it. Yeah, I would say that. It almost sounds like Major League 5, working your way back. He cheated, and now he's got to, that's so crazy. That whole thing. I can't. And isn't it weird how that whole scandal went away because of the pandemic? It would have been such a different season with the Astros if that didn't happen. If it's kind of silly to think about something so inconsequential as what they're, with the pandemic going on. But I think the reaction to them would be totally different. People had a chance to forget about it by the time the 60-game season started.
Yeah, it's also just like how people have forgotten about a certain second baseman for the Mets.
I don't even know what you're talking.
They forget that his contract is for 2 more years, and they're like, "Oh, good, we're rid of him." Like, no, you got Cano for 2 more years.
No.
Walker. You know how many Walker jerseys I have that became used?
Oh man, I thought he was going to be the next big thing. I don't know what happened.
Nah, we should have kept Murphy.
Oh my God! I mean, that right? Isn't that like really? I mean, that was like, come on. The guy went like crazy in the playoffs. He's obviously showing his worth. All right, so he'll boot a couple of balls at second base. Who cares if you're going to hit like that? And they got rid of him. And then, of course, he was on a mission to kill us for the next 3 years, right?
Yeah, off the air, I'll tell you the reason why they really got rid of him. Yeah. So the other thing I've always been curious about with you, because you brought it up about how you were up north trying to work your way back, is how did you decide that you wanted to become a news reporter?
It's funny. I actually, which you probably figured out, originally I was going to do sports. I went to Syracuse. I did the whole track. I looked up to Bob Costas and Marv Albert and all these guys who had gotten. I actually read an article in Sports Illustrated, I think my senior year of high school, that talked about how all these sportscasters all went to the same college. I knew Syracuse, but I was more of a St. John's fan back there. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds like someplace I should go, because I wanted to be, And then when I got to college, I kind of veered off more into news somehow at that point. So that's what happened. But I always knew I wanted to be in broadcasting in some way. So, but back then it was a little bit different. There was New York. They didn't have a New York one yet. It hadn't started yet. So we were told in journalism school, like, you have to start small, kind of like Carlos Beltran riding the bus. And then work your way up. So I was in Oneonta for 2 years. I was in Newburgh, New York for a couple of years. And I was in White Plains for 10 months. Went back up to Poughkeepsie, worked in radio in Poughkeepsie at WPDH, which a lot of people know. It's a great rock and roll station up in the Poughkeepsie area. And then got into TV up there. And then I wound up in New York 1 in 2001. But it took me almost 10 years, to get back home. It was crazy.
Well, and it's something that's crazy about it is that I remember when you started on New York 1, because I used to watch it, every day before I went to college, or at that time, 2001. No, 2001. I was watching it when I went to when I was working in production. I'd watch it every morning before I went to production. So, and then when I got to the studio, I would turn it on in the client room, so I would watch it and just see what was going on. So it blows my mind that it's somebody that I saw on TV. It's become a friend of mine, No,
well, thank God, it's been good. I mean, you've been so great coming on and talking about the Mets with us over the years. So it's been a great relationship, but yeah, no, I'm still, I'm glad I'm able to do it. And it's funny. Like I look back then, I mean, you still grow, and no matter, I'm 53 years old. I've been doing it for 30 years now, broadcasting. I'm still trying to get better at it. You know what I mean? You still, I say too much, or you listen to yourself. You try and improve writing, everything. So it's always it's like a work in progress. It's funny how it works, And your bosses remind you of that too. So don't worry.
Yeah, it's like my mother-in-law was watching the first show that we did. So the first show that we did, we had John Saponaro with us, and I was doing it from my parents' basement up in Pennsylvania. So me, my wife, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my 2 nephews went up to Pennsylvania for the weekend. I'm like, you know what? I just wanted to start doing this. So I'm doing the show tonight. So my mother-in-law was watching the show with my wife upstairs, and she goes, all he keeps doing is touching his chin and playing it like. I'm like, oh, it's something that's just happening. I can't help it. It's I'll do that even if I'm talking to you. Like if we were at Starbucks just having a conversation, I'll just sit there and, just do it. It's like a tick of mine.
Yeah, we all have mannerisms. Like it's weird. One thing that happened to me was, so New York 1 also has a Spanish channel, New York 1 Noticias, and our mic flags, you don't really see it too often, but one side says New York 1 and one side says New York 1 Noticias. So when they gave us these new mic flags, out of habit, I started always looking down to make sure I had the right side sticking. So anyone who watched me years ago would notice I always go this. It looks like, so it looks a little, a little weird, But I think I got over it though, because they gave us new mic flags that don't have the Noticias on it, and I think your mind, through mental, memory. Now I'm not looking down at it, so now I probably have some other thing I do. But that was pretty bad for a while though. Like my crew would be like, "Stop it,"
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you're just so used to something. You're like, all right, I gotta make sure. Oh wait, I don't have to look anymore, but I'm still gonna make sure because I want to make sure.
Right, exactly. And you're right. Your pet, like my dad is my biggest critic. Like he lives on Staten Island. He's like, he's basically Archie Bunker. That's bad. And like, he'll call and he'd be like, that shirt. What's with the shirt? And I'm like, what shirt are you referring to, Dad? The thing today. And I was like, it was like 3 days ago. I wanted to what he's talking about. Like he has no idea. But he always. But it's cool. I love the fact that he like actually cares to watch. It's nice. So it's nice. He always says when he ends the phone calls, "This is so nice." He always goes, "Well, I'll be looking for you," and that's not. It's like a nice thing for a dad to say. But then he's like, "You look fat." So.
Dad, camera adds 10 pounds to you. You should know that by now.
But his thing is like, I guess because he used to, have a drink or two back in the day. Like he's like, "What'd you hit the gin mill last night? I see your rosy cheeks." And I'm like, "Dad,
it's 20 degrees out."
Right. I don't think that's related to, but it's like, "You got a Budweiser tan," whatever. But, I mean, he may have been right once or twice, but.
Well, I do have another mother-in-law story for you.
Oh, please.
You were doing some kind of spot out in Staten Island. I don't know what you were doing, but my mother-in-law calls me up and she's like, "I saw Roger Clark before. I was going to go up and say hi to him, but I didn't know what to say." I'm like, "Hi, Roger. I'm Keith's mother-in-law. I watch you on SNY on NY1. I love your stuff." She goes, "Yeah, I should have said that."
Oh, does she live in Staten Island?
She does. That's where my wife and my in-laws are all from.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, my dad's still there. Yeah, that's where all the Clarks come from Staten Island. Yeah.
So I'm shocked that I haven't run out to you on there.
I've always lived a double life. Like, it's like I mostly I tell people I'm from Queens, but really, I mean, I lived in Staten Island until I was 7, and we went there almost every weekend. So and I'm not ashamed of it, but it's more like it just doesn't come up as much because honestly, most people have never been there. It's crazy. But like, I literally like, "Oh yeah, well, one time I went to Great Adventure and we drove through." I'm like,
like I saw it. My father took me to see the dump.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's like, and I was just like, how is that possible? But I guess it is possible that you wouldn't go. If you had no relatives there or friends, like, hey, I mean, you could avoid it. I guess. I
spent. Before I met my wife, and even when I met my wife, the most time I've been out in Staten Island is shooting TV shows.
Right, for work, right? Yeah.
I've been out there for Law and Order SVU, Gotham. Gotham is so if anybody that watched Gotham, where they turned Butch into Solomon Grundy, that was a swamp. No. Dave, I'm taking you out of the stream now. So when they turned him into Solomon Grundy, it was near the gas tanks on the other end of Staten Island.
Oh, on the West Shore Expressway, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they dug out a big hole and put a pool in there for him to go into the swamp, so he wasn't really in that water.
There's a lot of good locations. I know they do a lot at Wagner College because it kind of has an Ivy look to it. I think they filmed a lot, and when someone goes away to school and stuff, they'll go there and obviously by the ferry, that's pretty iconic over there with the view, like Working Girl on the ferry and the whole thing. But yeah, no, I mean, it's, believe it or not, and I tell people this all the time, Staten Island has really beautiful parks, like great parks. Like, we can go hiking and get lost, like nice places. There's good food. I love the pizza there. Joe and Pat's Pizza is like my favorite pizza on the planet. And I mean, there's stuff there. Like there's some nice little museums. There's a great I think it's a Asian Scholars Garden at the Snug Harbor.
Yep.
So it's not like it's like someplace that's just a bunch of houses, and a highway in the middle.
Yeah, we filmed Gotham at Snug Harbor. My favorite place, believe it or not, is where the ship graveyard is.
Yeah, That's like almost close to where my dad grew up. Yeah, in Mariners Harbor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just awesome because like you just look out into the water and you're like, wow, that's history. You don't know actually how old some of the ships are, but you're just like, that's history sitting out there. And it's just like one of my most peaceful points where we were filming. I was working on SVU and I was out there and I just got to sit in a 15 pass van and just like watch the water and look at the boats.
Yeah, actually, years ago when I was the Staten Island reporter, when I first started, we covered a story nearby, and this was crazy. There was a pack of wild dogs loose over that part of Staten Island, and they had actually snuck into the Staten Island Zoo and killed animals there. It was crazy. This true story. So my boss goes, "Okay, I want you to find the dogs." I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, what if they get me? Like,
well, it's going to be a great story if they get you.
It was like an exclusive interview with the wild dogs before they maul me to death, But it was really crazy. But yeah, anyway, but I never found them, thank God.
Well, that's another funny story. My wife's father, he was the original caretaker of the Staten Island Zoo.
Oh, get out. That's crazy.
Yeah, when they first built it.
My mom's famous story with me over there is that when I was a kid, little baby, the snow leopard peed on me. Which I was like, are you sure there just wasn't a leaky ceiling? She's like, no, the leopard peed on you. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know if that was good luck, bad luck.
Believe it or not, the only time I've been there was working on Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Oh, they filmed out there?
They filmed some of it there, yeah.
Cool. It's a nice little zoo. It's a nice little zoo. They do the whole Chuck thing every year, except, I mean, think about it. Like, well.
So remember when the groundhog decided to get away from de Blasio?
Oh man, yeah.
So the guy in the red suit, the guy that's in the red suit, that's my wife's cousin.
Oh, the guy who's like, wait, not Brian Leyland?
No, John. He's all dressed up in the the pomp and circumstance suit. That's my wife's cousin.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
I can see how like entrenched they are in Staten Island. They're like all
very small world over there.
Her family used to own Clove Stables.
Oh, get out. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And here's another, we're just keep going down the Media Goon rabbit hole. So my dad, who's up from the Upper East Side, Yorkville, growing up, he loved horses. He used to go take the ferry way out to Clove Stables and trade work to be able to ride the horses. And he never knew my mother-in-law or my father-in-law or the family, but he used to go there all the time.
Wow. So he would like go ferry, bus to horse.
Yep.
That's amazing. But that is a small world that they didn't even know each other. Yeah.
It's crazy. And then when I was talking about the house up in Pennsylvania, my mother-in-law used to go up to Lackawaxen where my house is when she was younger. It's just like this whole like weird universal thing where it's just like kept hitting.
So it was meant to be, obviously.
Yeah, the only bad thing is she's from Staten Island.
It all goes back to that, right?
Yeah.
I know, oh yeah, well, especially in the past couple of years with all the politics and stuff, it was tough to you hear people complaining about, oh, those jerks on Staten Island, and I was like, yeah, my dad.
Oh, we don't mean that jerk.
Not him. Not the other Roger Clark. He's Roger Clark too, so it's funny. But yeah, no, I mean, what happens with family. You just have to you try to not talk about politics because it just it's stick to like the other things like Roger, you're fat. Like don't talk about politics.
You're fat and you look like you got the Budweiser tan again.
Anything else that it is look, it's all about love, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And therapy.
Well, it's like my parents. My dad always had a feeling that I was going to do something in entertainment. And he worked as a teamster for 17 years in the film business. Before that, he was a mover for almost 40 years. But when I was a kid, like I was maybe 5 years old, and I was watching the behind the scenes on the making of Empire Strikes Back. And my mom used to like go nuts. She's like, "Why are you watching so much TV?" I'm like, "Well, I love watching this. TV is never going to get you a job."
We have similar paths though, because I watched a lot of TV too. I was like, latchkey kid. My parents were divorced. My mom worked. She didn't come up till like 6 o'clock at night. So we got home from school at 3. And what did you do? You do your homework, but then you're watching, as we spoke earlier, Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, all that stuff, and that becomes your babysitter in a crazy way. And then you all of a sudden the news comes on, and you're watching the news. You're like, oh, this is pretty intriguing. So next thing you know, with you is also just the artistry and the magic that goes into making these things. And look, that's what you do now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's, I spent 8 years doing TV production on those commercials. So that's how I learned how to do all this, like editing and videos. And it's still my passion. That's why I'm doing stuff like this. It helped me out with the QBC, running it.
Oh, gosh.
Nobody believes that all comes out of my brain. Like the whole setup and everything.
Dave? I think I could believe it. No, that was such a great event. It was such a fun part, and it was great. Like I always couldn't you put me in such a great position that I was sitting next to Ed Kranepool for a half hour. That was pretty cool.
Little Ed Kranepool right here.
Oh, oh wow, look at that. That was really fun. He was cool. He was really
I've had more interactions with him, I think, than any other former Met, because I've been to his house. I did the raising money for his kidney, to help him get a kidney, and he was at 2 QBCs.
Do you his because we in 2015 we did a whole week of basically, my boss was a Mets fan back then, the old news director, and he said go crazy, do Mets every day. So we somehow got into his house in Long Island. And typically we don't leave the 5 boroughs. Like there's like a gate, like it's like an invisible force field you cannot go across the border. But we went to his house, and I couldn't believe his collection of memorabilia. It was ridiculous. Wow.
Yeah, the good thing,
just let us have the run of the place. He was great.
You could tell that he was very proud of a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to hear that when he was selling stuff to raise money, he wasn't selling anything that really meant anything to him, really meant stuff to him.
Yeah.
It was more of hey, I got this picture of these 2 boxers that signed it to me, or I actually had a jersey hanging up from the Brooklyn Cyclones. There was 11 baseball players, between Tuffle, Duffy Dyer, I think Cleon Jones. But there was 10 different signatures on it that I bought off of him. So I actually have something from his collection.
Yeah, it was cool to hear it. It was crazy to his stories about the 60s and about who he hung out with, because you thought about it. It was New York was a baseball town, and he hung out with Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio and all these, almost everybody. And then people from other sports too. He just was rambling on about Walt Frazier and this guy and that guy. It was really crazy. It was wow.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, I heard that you just got the bat signal. So thank you for hanging out.
Roger, it was good seeing you.
Dave, it was a pleasure, man.
That'll be nice.
All right, Dave, I'll see you later, buddy. All right. So yeah, he got the bat signal. So I don't want to keep you on much longer if you have stuff to do, but it was definitely a great time talking to you, Roger.
Yeah, Keith, same here. Thank you for having me. This was such a pleasure. Gosh, wow, what fun. I hope we could do it again.
Oh, totally. I'll have you on any day of the week. So how do you think I'm doing now as a little bit of a host, since I hate being in front of a camera?
Excellent. I mean, this has been a good flowing conversation. That's the key, it's the key. Is about I always I always, when you're asking questions, you don't want the questions to be too long, because then next thing you know, people forget what you asked. I know it sounds crazy too. So yeah, I try not to, when I'm interviewing people, I try to get to the point quickly, not to, you don't want to say blah, 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 prove that something that they don't know and then throw it in their face or something.
Yeah. I don't do any prep work, believe it or not. I just go off the top of my head. I know where I want to go and what I want to say, but I just don't do anything. I feel it's more natural, and it works a little better for me.
All right, Keith, one warning before I go. I did that with so I covered the All-Star Fan Fest the year the Mets, it was at Citi Field, and I interviewed Mookie Wilson. And this is one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I said to Mookie, so This is so exciting. The All-Star game's in town. Tell us about your All-Star experience. And he says, I never was at an All-Star game. And I just assumed Mookie was at an All-Star game.
See, I would have covered up. No, I didn't mean about you being in the game. I mean, what do you think about this All-Star experience?
Yeah,
what have you done here?
I messed up. Yeah. But he was talk about a nice guy. And he didn't, he's like, you idiot. I wasn't in an All-Star game. He was like, well, I never played an All-Star game, Roger, but let me tell you, I know that the guys I know who played, like, he just rolled it right straight into it, no problem. And I always was impressed by that he did, because I felt like an idiot, but he didn't make me feel like an idiot more. Like, you know? Well,
we had him at the second ever QBC, him and Backman.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good group.
And you know, he was great. You know. And the second QBC, like I fell my footing over after the first one. I was fine with the first one, but with the second one, I was just like, man, we're actually doing something here. And I wasn't nervous about having any of the players, but it was good. Like for the 2 seconds I had time to actually talk to him. And I was like, you know, I watched this guy play when I was in, 10 years old in '86. This is awesome that standing next to me, he's talking to me like I'm a peer and not just a fan.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, the good ones are like that, and that's the thing, and a lot of them are like, you know, that same year we interviewed Edgardo Alfonso. He was a sweetheart. I mean, I can't think of too many over the years that I wasn't. I screwed up with Al Leiter because I had a Leiter. You know those Jersey T-shirts that are cheesy, like. I randomly at Modell's had a Leiter because he had 22 and that was my high school baseball number. So I finished the interview and I say, "Oh, Al, I have a shirt with your number and name on it." And he just looks at me like, "Okay, creepy." So that was not professional. It was my fault I wasn't being professional, but it was very difficult to interview someone I liked and looked up to and not say something. So, but I've gotten better with that over the years,
Yeah, but that's what makes you you, and it makes it fun to watch you on doing your spots on the news, is that you could tell that whatever story you're doing, it might not be something that is right down your alley, but you actually get interested in it and you show interest in it, and whatever it is, you're actually excited about doing that story.
Yeah, and I think that's and it's in a way, I feel like it's a learning experience. Like it may be something that I wouldn't necessarily jump into myself, but then you get there and you talk to the people involved, you feel their passion, and you hear what they and like I wouldn't say I was a big art fan growing up when I was a kid. It wasn't like I was constantly going to museums and stuff. I mean, we just didn't do that. I didn't come from that kind of family. But as covering art now I like it. I like it much more because I've talked to artists and I've talked to like museum curators and I've learned about how they do it and how they fix it. And then next thing you know, you're like, wow, yeah. So you do. Exactly. It makes you feel a little more passionate about something that maybe you necessarily didn't feel passionate about in the past,
Yeah. Well, speaking about art, since Maggio is now off of here, I can actually be nice. I have him and I have Graphics Joker. They're two great artists, and I'm not. I can doodle, I can draw a little bit, but like I talk to them on the side about stuff, and I'm learning about art. I'm learning about NFTs. I'm learning about all this other stuff with them, and it's now that stoked me with this art stuff where I'm like, all right, now I want to learn more. So I understand what you're saying. Like the stories put you down a path. Now you're like, oh wow, this sounds great. Let me check this out more, and I'm really enjoying it since I understand it more.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's good. I think I took like one art class in high school, and they made us go to the Met and do a scavenger hunt. And thank God for that one class, because now at least I kind of sound semi-knowledgeable about it when I'm places. But then sometimes you don't. And it's going to happen where you're not. I mean, if I'm talking to like the head paleontologist at the Museum of Natural History, he knows everything about dinosaurs. I mean, like he literally does. There's nothing I could say so I just try and soak up what he's hit the knowledge, and I ask questions, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. And look, if I sound like kind of a dope every once in a while, usually they're pretty cool about it, and they don't rub it in your face that like, oh God, this guy doesn't know about dinosaurs. Instead, they actually get a kick out of teaching, and those are the people you like to talk to the best because it's fun.
Yeah, but when you ask like a dopey question, it's not really dope because somebody out there might have that question.
Yeah, and that's always my take on it. Like I'm like you. I'm not saying I don't do any preparation, but I feel like I want to be a little surprised sometimes. I don't want to like go into, if I'm going to be interviewing like I said, someone who knows a lot about this particular topic, why am I going to try and outshine them? But I want to learn from them. And then I could share it with the viewers. It's cool.
Yeah, that's just like what I'm doing with this. Is I'm trying, whoever I have on as a guest, I'm trying to learn more about people that I know. So like, John Saponaro is a buddy of mine, a comedian, live event host, and I wanted to know more about him. And on here, like, I'm just like, hey, let me find out stuff I don't know about you. Last week, who do I have on the second week? I had, I'm blanking out. Who do we have on? It'll come back to me later. Oh, I had Mark Healy. I had Mark Healy on last week.
Oh, I love Mark. He's great.
So Mark,
great book.
I read. Yeah, that's what we talked about. I had such a great line on him. He goes, "Oh, what did you like most about the book?" I'm like, "When you got mugged." He goes, "Which time?" I'm like, "All three."
Oh my god, he's a character. I did the story. I think it was like last spring because he had the book out. Brian Wright had the great book out. And then, oh my God, my buddy Mike also had a book out about. So it was crazy. So I had all three of them in the piece. It was really it was a good time for releasing books.
Yeah, the Pandemic Book Club.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they made like this whole section out and trying to keep promoting each other to keep pushing out those books. So hopefully they'll be able to have some sort of a signing and push them this season.
Yeah, I hope so because they all did. I mean, we were really lucky. There was some good Mets books. It was nice.
Well, we were supposed to have an artist panel, which we did do in the QBC virtual version. We were going to have an authors panel, and we were going to have them all talking about their books.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And those guys could all talk. I mean, they could talk about everything. They're good stuff.
Yeah. So, all right, Roger. I've had you on. I've actually held you hostage for almost an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So much for a half an hour show, huh?
Well, it's nice. It was really seriously. Thanks for asking. It was a pleasure. And of course, I hope I'll be seeing you out at Citi Field and doing some interviews with you on New York One too.
I can't wait. I just hope to be able to stand 6 feet away from you and watch a game with you.
Oh, that'd be a blast. I'm ready. Get me in there.
All right, Roger, I'm going to take you off the stream now. I'm going to talk to you right after this for a few seconds. And then thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for being on, Roger. Thank you for Maggio for ditching out on us. And I'll see you in a second, Roger.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you. Here's some end credits.